Good day and welcome to another episode of Drew's Book Reviews. It's the end of the month, so you know what time that means. It's time for the June wrap-up, channel update on how I'm doing with my Goodreads goal, and of course, what I expect to read in July. So if you are interested in what I have to say here for this update, stay tuned because that is coming right up on Drew's Book Reviews. Alright, so before we get into my channel update for the month of June and July preview, make sure that you hit that like, comment, and subscribe button, and hit that bell notification so you can see when I upload videos every Tuesday and Friday. You could also check me out over on Patreon, where you get to participate in a monthly poll where you get to help choose what book I'm going to read next, as well as of course join me over on the Discord. So let's talk about it. Let's see where I'm at. Now, this year I set a personal goal to read 75 books, including rereads that I'm doing, and honestly, I'm a bit behind. I'm currently sitting at 28 of 75 books halfway through the year. I'm behind on my goal, but I may still be able to catch up. We're only halfway through the year after all, so I'm sure that I could probably catch up on that goal if I really tried. So part of the reason I set 75 was because I am including rereads in that as well, as I listen to books on Audible while I read along as far as rereads go. So I thought 75 was pretty achievable, but so far looks like maybe I'm a bit behind, or it's not as achievable as I thought, but who knows how things are gonna go. We'll see how the rest of the year goes, right? Because there's lots of year left and hopefully I can achieve those goals. So let's talk a little bit about the books that I have read in the month of June. So this is in no particular order, the order that I read them necessarily, but just what have I read in June? So of course, as always, each month I am starting with my Edgar Allan Poe stories, as this is the year of the Poe on the channel. So we're continuing our read in the collected works of Edgar Allan Poe, with this month, William Wilson and The Telltale Heart. You can check out my review on that as well. You should be able to see that on the Edgar Allan Poe playlist, which I will try to remember to link in the cards for you to check out. So as far as the stories read this month, I have to say, of course, The Telltale Heart is one of my favorites. Telltale Heart is a classic, and I absolutely love Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. William Wilson was okay. Telltale Heart was pretty awesome all around. Really enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we're going to read in Edgar Allan Poe next month as well. So of course, stay tuned for that. We'll talk about that in a little bit later on in the next month's read portion of this video. But yeah, so Edgar Allan Poe, of course, continuing on with that, and Telltale Heart is just a classic. Everybody loves that, right? So one of the other books I got finished up in this month was Calibans War, Book 2 of the Expanse, a book series I am absolutely loving in every way, shape, form. This is a great book series, science fiction as it should be written. And as much as I love classic science fiction like Star Wars and Star Trek, this one actually deals with real-world, plausible, realistic science fiction technology, which I love behind this. Calibans War was just as good, in my opinion, as the first book in this series, and overall The Expanse is just a wonderful, wonderful science fiction series. It is a fantastic read, and I'm absolutely loving every minute I spend in this immersive universe, or solar system, I guess, that's been created, since the entire story does take place within our own solar system. But if you've not watched the TV show or not read the books, I recommend you do both. I actually started watching the TV show before I started reading the books, and now I absolutely love the books. James S.A. Corey, Calibans War, Book 2 of The Expanse, finished that up right at the beginning of this month. Love it. It's a great read all around. Fantastic science fiction. Absolutely loving this series. Next up on my books read for this month, Carl Sagan's The Demon Haunted World. This is my nonfiction read for the month of June. So this is a really interesting book, how it basically makes the case for how scientific literacy and education is vital to a successful society, and that we need to have a healthy level of skepticism, and we need to question things in order to investigate, learn, and understand our world better. And while it did come across as outdated with some of the things that he did discuss, the underlying message of this book overall was really good and definitely needed in the modern world. Scientific literacy seems to be lacking for so many people, especially if you see what kind of social media aspect out there are some people and their stuff they're putting out there. But overall, the underlying message of this book is really important, and we really need to hear more stuff like this coming out. And honestly, like I said, though it was outdated a little bit in some respects as far as the particular things that he was referencing within this book, overall, Demon Haunted World, great book overall, and it was still a good and interesting read with a fantastic underlying message of the importance of scientific literacy and how it illuminates the darkness of our knowledge so that we understand the world better. Really great read. Love that book overall. Next up is my Discworld Read of the Month, which is Abroad. So typical Terry Pratchett, using the Discworld and the absurdism to have an underlying discussion about the different ideals, pop culture, and things within our society. This one is all about how stories have the power to change our lives, and that those stories influence the things that we do. And that is just a fantastic idea and concept. And I love how Terry Pratchett takes these ideas and he puts them into a story in a book that is literally about stories. We have references to Red Riding Hood. We have references to the Three Little Pigs. We have references to Cinderella and just the classic fairy tales. Great read. Everything Terry Pratchett is a great read so far. I'm really enjoying the Discworld and everything that it's talking about. It really is a good, fantastic, enjoyable read from start to finish. So definitely, if you haven't read Discworld, I highly recommend go and check it out. So the next one that I finished up in the month of May, this is part of my rereads. I'm rereading on Audible, so I'm reading along with the books as I listen on Audible, which is actually a really fun way to do it. I am reserving my rereads for Audible rather than first time through. I do like to have just, not with the Audible, but just reading it myself first time through. But Golden Sun, book 2 of the Red Rising trilogy, was one of the books I finished up as part of a reread in the month of June. So I'm rereading the series before I get on to the final book in the series that has been, which is Dark Age right behind me here. I wanted to do a reread to get a refresher on everything that's happened up until the Dark Age point. So I started rereading on Audible, and you know, I'm not going to do a dedicated review on each book in this series, but what I am planning on doing is once I've completed Dark Age, I want to kind of do a why you should read Red Rising kind of video. I've seen a few other channels do something similar, and I think that that would be fun to do as far as a why you should read, and I'll probably do that for all the book series that I'm rereading rather than doing a dedicated review on each and every book. At least for the few that I have in mind for rereading. Powder Mage is another one I plan on rereading, as well as the Shadow Campaigns I plan on rereading, and Lightbringer I plan on rereading as well. So there's a few that I'll probably just do a why you should read on, but overall, Red Rising, another great kind of dystopian science fiction. I like how it kind of meshes the ancient Roman culture in with a sci-fi setting in some distant future of humanity. I think that's kind of a really cool idea. Overall, Red Rising is a great series, really enjoying it, and I am enjoying my reread of it. It's really a different experience when you're listening on Audible and reading along with the book. It's actually kind of really cool, and I'm really enjoying going about it that way on the reread, and it's just, it's fun, entertaining, and just overall a fun experience doing that. And the last book that I read in the month of June, at least at the time of filming this video, this is the last one that I actually fully completed, and that is this month's Patron Pick, The Martian by Andy Weir. Loved it. This is probably going to make my top reads of the year, I expect. Hilarious, fantastic, hard sci-fi, great read, entertaining, captivating. It's just, I love the story in The Martian. It is just a fantastic concept. The idea of a person being stranded on Mars with no way to communicate home and having to survive until he can be rescued. That was just phenomenal. Great setting for a story, fantastic concept for a story, and Andy Weir pulls it off so well. I absolutely love this book. My patrons sure know how to pick books. Speaking of patrons, if you want to help me choose a book to read every month, join me over on Patreon. It's like $1 a month. You can vote what I want to read. That's it, $1 a month. So definitely check that out. I'll have that link below, of course. But yeah, The Martian, the patron pick for this month. Fantastic read. Patrons, you sure know how to pick them, and thank you so much for that. And this is really enjoyable book overall, and absolutely love The Martian by Andy Weir, and I highly recommend it. The movie was pretty good too. Pretty good adaptation. I watched the movie right after I finished reading this book, and just all around good stuff. Check it out, The Martian by Andy Weir. I'm probably going to pick up Project Hail Mary at some point. It's on my wish list now that I've read The Martian, so that's the second book that Andy Weir has written. It's not a sequel to this, but I've been hearing some good things about Project Hail Mary as well. So there you have it. Those are the books that I read in the month of June. Actually, just before we get into what I'm reading right now, I did want to mention that I did complete a second read of War in the Fallows because I did have, well, as of the day of this filming, I will be having an interview with Jamar and Jamel Effin. So as of the day of posting, that would have been the Sunday on the 27th. So I did want to quickly reread this to get a kind of a refresher before I did that or had that conversation on the live stream. So if you haven't checked out the live stream, definitely do so. I'll try to remember to link that in the description below as well. But anyway, yeah, I did complete a reread of War in the Fallows this month as well. Almost forgot to add that in. But yeah, I did do that as well. So that is what I read in the month of June. So let's talk about what am I reading right now. So as for what I'm reading right now, I am continuing on my Red Rising reread with Morning Star, which I may or may not finish before the end of the month. I don't know yet, but as of the day of filming this, I am still reading Morning Star. This is the ones I'm doing through Audible so that I can enjoy kind of that immersive reading experience as well on the reread. So again, just a reminder, like I'm not going to be doing an individual book review for each book in the series, but I am going to be kind of doing a full series review and kind of a why you should read Red Rising type deal. So Morning Star is one of the ones that I'm currently reading as of the day of filming this and might finish it before the end of June. Who knows, we'll see. But if I finish it in June, I'll include it in my finished or May reads, I guess. At least that's the theory anyway. And the second book that I'm currently in the process of reading is Abaddon's Gate. So this is the second or third book in the Expanse series. Again, this is a fantastic series that I'm absolutely enjoying. From start to finish so far, I'm absolutely loving this. So far, I have to say, as far as my thoughts on this one go, I love how we're bringing in the religious priests and preachers of different religious faiths and the implications of this gate and what it means for the religious theology and the impact that'll have on faith and belief and theology. So it's kind of how the viewpoint of one character, a priest named Anna. So really interesting as far as that perspective being presented within this book so far. So I'm really kind of intrigued by that idea. And I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to get spoilers on it, of course. But overall, you can bet I'm going to be doing an actual, each book will have its own dedicated review in this series for sure. But Abaddon's Gate, Book 3 of the Expanse, is one that I'm currently reading right now. And again, as always, thoroughly enjoying this series. And definitely, you should check this out. I might even do why you should read the Expanse once I've done the reviews of each book. I haven't decided on that yet, but you never know. So those are the books that I am currently reading right now. So let's talk a little bit about what books I will be reading in the month of July. So let's talk a little bit about what am I going to read in the month of July. So of course, as always, I'm going to be starting off my July reads with more from Edgar Allan Poe and his collected works. So we've got a few here that we'll be reading. We're going to be starting with the narrative of A. Gordon Pym. And it looks like we got a tale called Ligeia, Morella, A Tale of the Ragged Mountains, and The Spectacles. So we'll see how that works out. And it'll be interesting to read. These are stories I've never actually heard of or read from Edgar Allan Poe before. So it'll be really interesting to kind of see where those stories go and how they play into the whole Poe-verse, I guess is maybe one way to put it. But all the Edgar Allan Poe stories. And yeah, I mean, I love a lot of his works and the kind of the dark, creepy feeling behind a lot of his writing or most of his writing. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out with those stories. This is actually probably going to be some of the longest Poe stories this month. I know most months I'm reading about 60 pages, give or take, in this book. But this one's a little more than 100 this time around. So, and it's really quite small writing. I mean, look at the writing size in that. It's very, very small writing in this book. So we'll see how that goes and how long it actually takes me to get through those pages in the collected works of Edgar Allan Poe as I continue on with the Year of the Poe here on Drew's Book Reviews. So next up after that, I'll be moving on to my nonfiction read of the month. Still got the sticker on it. just can't be bothered to take it off sometimes. But in any case, it'll be the greatest story told so far. Why are we here? Lawrence M. Krauss. So this is all about, I guess, the origins of the universe. Why are we here? Kind of has a philosophical feel to it on the title with respect to the cosmos, the universe, and how we got here. Lawrence M. Krauss, I've heard a lot about his books and writing, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes with respect to the greatest story told so far. Lawrence M. Krauss, always up for a good nonfiction read, especially when it comes to things like, you know, science-based books and quantum theory and the universe and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be really interesting to see how that goes with Lawrence M. Krauss's The Greatest Story Told So Far. I'm sure it will be great. Usually is when it's that type of book. At least that's been my experience so far. Next up is going to be this month's Patron Pick, which as of the day of filming, it looks like it's going to be Daniel B. Green's Breach of Peace. So Daniel Green, as you know, if you're watching my channel and a fan of BookTube, you probably already know who Daniel Green is. He's probably one of the biggest booktubers on the platform. So Breach of Peace, Daniel B. Green, his novella, his debut book. We'll see. I've kind of heard mixed reviews on this. Some people have loved it, some have hated it, some haven't liked it at all. It's kind of been a mixed bag of good and bad, but we'll see how I feel after I read Breach of Peace. I've been enjoying watching Daniel's videos about his book and what he's learned from the writing and publishing process. So it'll be interesting to see, one, how this book turns out and how I enjoy it, but also kind of see how he takes what he's learned from his experience in writing this book and the feedback he's received and putting it into his next book, which will be interesting. So Breach of Peace by Daniel B. Green, this month's Patron Pick. I suppose it could still change, but it looks like it's going to be Breach of Peace for July's Patron Pick. And as a reminder, again, if you want to have an influence on what book I'm going to read each month, join me over on the Patreon, and you can also vote on my Patron Pick. I put up a poll every month and it kind of selects some titles for my patrons to choose from. So next up is going to be, after the Patron Pick for this month, Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. I've heard amazing things about this. Some people said this is probably one of the best Discworld books out there. I'm looking forward to seeing if that's true. Now, if I know Terry Pratchett at all, this is going to be a hilarious take on religion. That's my expectation with the title like Small Gods, because that's just the way Pratchett does things. And it'll be really great to kind of see where he goes with Small Gods and how that's crazy. So far, what I've read in the Discworld so far is Terry Pratchett's kind of had this idea within the Discworld that gods are a creation of our minds, and it's our belief in them that gives them power and reality. And that's kind of what Discworld has kind of said so far, essentially, when anytime it's talked about the gods, it's kind of implied that ideology. So it'll be interesting to see how Small Gods turns out and how that works out and who these small gods are and what they're up to, because you know in a Terry Pratchett Discworld novel, it's going to be crazy because that's just Terry Pratchett and just the way it goes. And then next up, so the last read I have planned for the month of July is going to be James S.A. Corey. We're continuing on with the Expanse series with See a Bull Burn. This will be the fourth book in the Expanse series that I'm planning on reading this in the month of July. And based on how the series is going so far, I have no doubt I'm going to love this book, because honestly, everything about this series so far has been fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to getting on to book 4 of the Expanse series, and I can't wait to get to this. And the reason I'm doing... Before, I actually used to read series, I'd just read them all in a row and just read out the whole series back to back to back. But I found that I didn't want my channel and my videos to become all about one particular series in every given month. So I'm just going to do a monthly read, one book a month from the series that I'm reading. It kind of spaces out a little bit more and helps give a little more variety to what I'm reading each month as well. But overall, loving the Expanse. So far, it's been a fantastic series. And I'm really looking forward to getting book 4, See a Bull Burn. And I mean, burn, you know that's going to be interesting right there. And of course, continuing on with my rereads of the Red Rising series, we're going to be reading Iron Gold next month as well on Audible. So this will be a fun read as well. Red Rising is a fantastic book series that I'm thoroughly enjoying on my reread through Audible. So I look forward to rereading Iron Gold on Audible. And next month, I may even get on to the final book in the series next month. I don't know. We'll see how quickly I get through on Audible, but Iron Gold will be on the book I'm rereading for next month on my Audible. So there you have it. Those are the books that I am planning on getting to in the month of July. So if you want to know what I thought of these books, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and bell notification if you haven't already, especially if you like this kind of content. I know I certainly enjoy making these videos and sharing my love of reading with everybody. You could also join me down on the Discord. We could have a great conversation about these books or any other books really you want to chat about. Join me over on the Discord. That'll be linked below, and of course on the Patreon as well. For as little as $1 per month, you can choose what you want me to read. You can vote on my read for the month on my Patron Pick poll that's put up every month, and get early access to my Patron Pick book review video once that's out as well. So as always, of course, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below, have you read any of these books? Are there any series that I've mentioned that you are interested in reading? What are your thoughts? Please do try to keep it spoiler free for those that have not read that. I know a lot of people don't like spoilers, and generally I don't care too much about spoilers as long as they're mild, but other people do. So please keep it spoiler free in the comments if you can. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on the next episode of Drew's Book Reviews. Until then, keep on reading. Bye.